the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Fear God and give him glory. Fear offending him and correctly glorify him, and you will be becoming more Christian and orthodox, keeping the faith until Christ's return. In today's Gospel reading, just before Christ healed the eyes of the man born blind, Christ's disciples asked him, "Who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" They have asked, "Why is he suffering?" This is one of the most common questions. Why is there suffering? Two of the main reasons why we often suffer are, firstly, because we have lost God's protection, because possibly as a grown-up we have sinned, or the parents or guardians over a child have sinned, causing a reduction or loss of God's protection. And so, if the parents lose their protection, then their child will often suffer a reduction or loss of protection, because they are responsible for the child to think for it. They do not ask a 2-month-old baby if it wants to eat, but simply feed it and make it eat. It is their duty to care for the child, physically and spiritually, until he has achieved teenagehood. The second main reason for suffering is when God can see into the heart of someone and sees how much faith they have. God sees how much they love him and their neighbor. God sees something very good, and so allows them to become a martyr, and even suffer unjustly, and they still keep their faith and their love for God, and then they become an inspiration for many others who are suffering in a similar way. They become a holy example, a holy icon that inspires others for generations, that inspires many to keep their faith and glorify God until Christ's return, to fear God and give him glory until the salvation of their souls, even in the last days. Job in the Old Testament suffered. The apostles suffered. Even Christ suffered greatly, was crucified, and suffered more than anyone. But they suffered so that God would be glorified. Christ says to his disciples in today's Gospel that the man was born blind so that the works of God might be revealed in him. And therefore, God is glorified through his suffering. So do not judge when you see someone suffering, because God just might be turning them into a saint. And a saint, because of all his suffering while keeping his faith, has many rights with God and uses them to help many. And they may even have enough rights with God to protect a whole country. There was once a certain saintly elder that lived during the early centuries of Christianity, when it began to spread abroad amongst the world. And his disciples asked him, "Elder, So his disciples thought, if it keeps halving each generation, what will happen? So they asked the holy elder again, and in the last days, what will they be capable of? The elder said, they will barely be able to just keep the faith, but they will be more glorified in heaven than our forefathers who could raise the dead. We are now in and getting closer to those last days and times. Sin is almost everywhere, so much so that many are now calling evil good and good evil. We cannot even turn on the TV or open a magazine or look at an internet site without being tempted. Sin has even become fashionable. But if we patiently persevere, pray, asking for God's forgiveness, mercy, and help, try to please God, to obey God, to trust God, to love God, and keep the faith, then you too will be glorified when one day you receive honors in heaven and a crown of victory, which will be yours forever. So let us patiently persevere until our last breath, keeping the faith, and never, never, ever give up, because God will never give up on you.